Hi friends, it's Lisa Mears. Welcome back to my channel and thanks for being here. In today's video, I'm going to be making some Christmas cards using some fun products from scrapbook.com, and these cards will be gingerbread themed. So here's a look at the products that I'll be using on my cards today. Now these products are not new to scrapbook.com. I think they were released last Christmas season, but it's the first time I'm able to get my hands on these products and make some cards. As always, if you're interested in any of the products that you see me use in this video today, check the link in the description box below or on my corresponding blog post, which will also be linked below, and you'll find product links. So if you love the gingerbread theme as much as I do, you are going to love these products. Let's take a look at the stamp set. This is called Sweet Christmas. There are 3 gingerbread cookies. You have a gingerbread girl, a snowman, and a gingerbread boy, and some sentiments that say Happy Holidays, Have a Sweet Christmas, Merry Everything, and Happy Always. Sending warm hugs, and oh what fun. There's also a miniature candy cane stamp. There's also the corresponding dies available with that stamp set. If you're not into stamping, there is a set of dies that you can make gingerbread cookies, and here's a look at what those dies would look like if they were all put together. You get a Christmas tree, a gingerbread boy, girl, snowman, and the Happy Holidays word die. And these pattern papers are so much fun. This is the gingerbread pattern paper collection. It comes in a 6x8 plus a A2 size paper pad. So with a 6x8 paper pad, the very first sheet are all of these little square cut aparts, and you can totally use these for your card fronts to make fun sentiments out of. There's a couple that have these sentiments on them, like joy and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. So you get that sheet. You actually get several of that sheet in the 6x8, but the first sheet in the A2 size paper pad you can totally use on the front of an A2 size card. You have that gingerbread house with the Happy Holidays words, and you can just slap that on an A2 size card front and have a card. On the reverse of that sheet is like just a solid craft color, and then you also have a sheet of these snowflake and heart-shaped gingerbread cookies. I believe you get 5 of each one of the designs in this pad. And then you have a yellow pattern, which is the shape of frosting. And then you have all of these cute little gingerbread girl and boy with some hearts. And I'm showing you these pages side by side. I want you to notice that regardless of which size paper pad you choose, the design is the same exact size. So they don't scale it down based on the size of the paper. I know a lot of companies, when you buy the larger sheets and the smaller 6x6 pads, the larger sheets are scaled up and the smaller sheets are scaled down, and that's not the case with these pads. So here you have some snowman and some little marshmallow stick candies, and then we have on the reverse of that there are some cupcakes and little gingerbread houses in some glass jars. There's also some fun polka dots, and then on the reverse of that we have these little dotted lines, and you can see the color scheme here. You have some greens and yellows and reds. There's even some pinks in here. Such a nice color scheme. So here are some more cookies. And then we have the Happy Holidays and all of the different colors of the paper pad. And then the last sheet is just this solid green, and that's all the papers that are included. So you get a total of 16 patterns and 5 sheets of each. So I'll be making 3 cards today, and for my first card I'm also going to be bringing in this Christmas solid paper pad from scrapbook.com, and I'm going to be using this brown color, and I'm also going to be using the red from this pad. From the gingerbread paper pad, I'll be using the green with all of the gingerbread cookies. And I'm going to use these Pink and Main stitched rectangle frame dies and die cut the brown cardstock. And when that comes out of the die cutting machine, it gives me all of these different size rectangle frames, which I'm only going to use the largest one, but it does cut all the others out. You can just save those for another project. So I'm going to put glue on the back of the largest rectangle frame, and I'm going to put a piece of acetate down on the back side of that. My acetate is cut to the same exact size of the frame, which is 5.5 by 4.25. Next, I'm taking some foam strips and I'm going to add some foam to the back side of that rectangle frame. Now you can totally turn this into a shaker card, but I'm not going to do that today. I just wanted to stand up my frame so that it's not pressed against the pattern paper, because I wanted this card to look like it's a box of cookies, and I didn't want to take away from any of that beautiful pattern on the pattern paper by adding anything inside. So I'm just making the most of the pattern paper for this card. So I remove all of the backing from the foam and I add it directly to the top of the piece of pattern paper. And the pattern paper is already cut to size since I used the pattern paper from the A2 size paper pad. Next, I cut 2 strips from the red cardstock. Each strip has a thickness of 1/4 inch. One is measured at 1/4 by 4.25 and the other is 1/4 by 5.5. I'm going to use these red strips to represent ribbon, like it's wrapping up this box of cookies. And I'm also going to be bringing in the smallest tag from the nested tag die set, and that is going to be my little tag for my gift box. And all I'm going to do here is find which word on this Happy Holidays piece of pattern paper that I want to die cut out. Basically just picking which colors I want to use. You can't go wrong with any of those colors. And I'm just going to put that little tag die over top of the words and die cut it out with my die cut machine. And that's basically going to be my sentiment. And it just so happens that those words fit perfectly inside of that small tag in the nested tag die set. Next, I'm going to use one of the bows from the Bow Toppers die set, and I'm going to die cut it with the green solid cardstock. This is just the reverse side of that Happy Holidays paper. The bow that I ended up picking I thought was a little bit too small for what I was trying to create, so I just went back to that Bow Toppers die set, and there's so many bows to choose from, and I just picked a larger bow and I die cut that one with the same green cardstock, and this one will fit my card much better. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this card up by gluing those red strips to the front of the card, and they are going to go right on top of the acetate. So the top of the strip will be even and flush with the top of the card, and the bottom will be flush with the bottom of the card. Now I actually cut mine a little bit longer, but I gave you the measurements earlier for what they should be. So it really needs to be just the length and width of your card, so 4.25 and 5.5 inches. I'm going to add my tag, and I'm going to add the bow where the red cardstock intersects. And that is how you can make a card from this pattern paper collection utilizing just the pattern paper. Now I'm going to move into the dies. I've already done all of my die cutting, and I'll also be bringing in the solid cardstock from the Christmas paper pad, the Pinks paper pad, and the Peppermint paper pad. So let's start out by putting the Christmas tree cookie together. So I have the largest die that I die cut out of the brown cardstock, and then the layering die, it cuts out not only an outline but the inside pieces as well. And I cut that with white cardstock as well as green cardstock. I'm going to use the white cardstock for the outline, and I'm going to use the green cardstock for the inside of those pieces. But before I glue that down to the brown cardstock, I'm just inking up the edges to make sure that my gingerbread cookies look a little toasty. So I'm using the scrapbook.com gingerbread ink and just adding ink all along the edges. Next, I'm going to add glue to the back side of the white Christmas tree outline. And then I'm going to add that to the large brown solid tree. And those green pieces just fit inside of that outline. And unfortunately, my camera wasn't rolling when I was working on that part, so I don't have that to show you, but here's a finished example of what that looks like. I did also add a little bit of green ink to the edges before gluing that down. So next, let's work on the snowman. I have a piece of the brown cardstock, and again, I'm just adding some brown ink. And then the other smaller die there, I die cut out of white cardstock, and those two dies just layered together. Next, I'm going to take my green ink and I'm going to ink the edges of the scarf. I'll also ink the edges of the snowman's cap with some of the cardinal red ink just to add some more depth to those die cut pieces. So here I'm going to add the cap to the snowman, and that just fits perfectly on the top of its head. And then I'm going to add the scarf around his neck. And the fun thing about the dies is you can die cut these with any color that you want. I just chose to use colors that match the pattern paper. So if you wanted this to have a pink scarf and a pink hat, you can totally do that. So here I'm adding the nose, mouth, and the eyes, and I die cut the mouth and the eyes out of black cardstock from my stash, and the nose is out of orange cardstock. I'm just adding them here with my Craft Pick Pro tool as well as my tweezers, just because that gives me better control when using these small die cut pieces. So this Craft Pick Pro tool, it does have a wax tip and it easily picks up these small pieces of cardstock and allows me to place them where they need to be. The opposite tip is a narrow metal tip, which allows me to move these little eyes where I want them in case I didn't get them in the right spot the first time. Okay, so next we're going to move on to the gingerbread boy and girl. I am going to ink the edges just like I did with all of the other die cuts. So the boy gingerbread man is going to have a Santa hat, and that's what I'm inking up here. And then the girl gingerbread is going to have a bow. So you can see these are the pieces that I'm pulling out for the hat. You have the little white ruffle part at the bottom of the hat itself, and there's also a little circle for the pom-pom on the end. And I'm just going to go ahead and glue these on to the gingerbread boy, starting with the hat itself, the red part, and then we'll add the white little ruffle part at the bottom. And then I'll put a little dab of glue at the end of that hat and add the white pom-pom to the top. Next, I'll add the red scarf around his neck. And now I'm going to add all of the little frosting pieces to the gingerbread boy. So we'll add to the legs as well as to the arms. I die cut the mouth and the eyes out of white cardstock, and we'll go ahead and add those as well. And then I'll add 3 dots of glue along the center of the body, and I'll add the white circle cardstock pieces that I die cut out for the buttons. And look how cute this gingerbread boy is. Now we're going to work on the girl. So the girl gingerbread has some longer frosting strips for the bottom of her dress. So there are 2 of them, and I'm going to go ahead and add them now. And then I'll also use the same smaller strips of frosting for her arms, just like I did with the gingerbread boy. So next I'm going to add her collar, which I die cut out of pink cardstock, and I'll also add her bow to the top of her head. I'll add her eyes and mouth and also her buttons. The eyes and mouth out of the white cardstock and the buttons I die cut out of the pink cardstock. And here's an up close look at all 4 of those finished pieces. So now let's make a few cards with those die cuts. I have the nested arch dies from scrapbook.com, which I used to die cut a piece of solid red cardstock and the polka dot pattern paper. I also have a piece of white cardstock, and I'm just going to cut a little hill out of the top. This is going to represent snow in my little scene. If you wanted to use a border die to do this, you can also do that, but I just as well use the scissors. And I'm going to put this little hillside border at the bottom of the polka dotted cardstock panel that I die cut out. You can see it's a little bit longer than that panel, and that's not a problem because once I glue it down, I'll just use my scissors and snip off the ends. After I glue that snowy hill to the bottom of that arch, I'm going to place the panel in my MISTI and arrange my die cut pieces on top. I'm going to pull out a stamp from the stamp set that says sending warm hugs, and I'm just going to line up the stamp with the die cuts. Before I add those die cuts to the panel, I am going to stamp it down. If I were to add the die cuts first, I might not give myself enough room for this stamp, so I want to make sure that I add the stamp first by just positioning everything in the MISTI how I want it to appear when the card is finished, and then I'll just remove the die cut pieces, stamp out the sentiment in some black ink. I'll go ahead and add that arch to the red arch. Once it's added down, I'll go ahead and add those die cut pieces, adding the Christmas tree first, and then the snowman is going to be layered in front of the tree. Then I'll add that to a piece of pattern paper that's from the A2 pattern paper pad. So I love how the images in the pattern paper have some accents. You can see like a white gel pen with some decorations, and there's some red, looks like ornaments on the tree, and I'm going to try and replicate that for my die cuts. So I'm just taking a red Sharpie and I'm adding some lines on the scarf to give this some more character. And then I'm going to use a white gel pen and add some marks on the hat. I'm also going to add some white gel pen marks on the gingerbread part of the cookie, on the snowman, and that's just on the brown cardstock. And then I'm going to come in and add some dots all along the edges of the green Christmas tree. I'll add some more white marks on the brown part of the Christmas tree die cut. And then I'm going to bring in my pops of color. This is the Rudolph red color, and I'm just going to add some little dots of red that make it look like there's ornaments on the tree. I'm also going to add 3 dots for the buttons on the snowman. The pops of color will need time to dry, so make sure you let your card lay flat until it's fully dry. So that will complete my second card. For my next card, I'll be using the scrapbook.com nested heart dies and the nested scallop heart dies. I die cut a piece of red solid cardstock using the nested scallop die and a piece of the pattern paper using the nested heart die. And I have 2 of the gingerbread boy and the girl, and I'm going to put them inside of the heart. I am going to cut out one of these hearts from the paper pad. I'm just going to fussy cut it out because I thought this would be cute to put the heart in the gingerbread boy and girl's hand. So it's going to be like they're holding hands and there's a heart in the middle. So I'm just going to fussy cut this out, and then I'll glue both of the gingerbread boy and girl down to the heart and add the heart right to their hands. For the sentiment, I stamped out "You're the icing to my gingerbread." I die cut it out with the coordinating die, and I also took the die and die cut 2 more pieces of white cardstock, and I'm just stacking those sentiment layers. So I wanted this sentiment to be popped up a little higher than the rest of the card, so I'm just stacking those layers. And I love how this stamp set comes with the dies to die cut the sentiment. I don't have to actually fussy cut it out. It actually cuts the shape for me. So I'm going to go ahead and add that stacked sentiment at the bottom of the heart. You can see I did put that heart on a piece of the pattern paper. Next, I added that to an A2 size white card base. Go ahead and add some accents with a white gel pen. And then I'm going to use the red pops of color and add a little bit of embellishment here on the heart. So I'll add 3 drops in the upper right and 2 drops in the lower left. I'll let that dry, but this card is now complete. So I would love to hear if you've gotten started on your Christmas or holiday cards. Leave me a comment down below and let me know. Once again, if you're interested in any of the products that I've used, take a look at the links down in the description box. All of the products will be listed down there. If you like this video, please click that thumbs up button, and if you like videos like this and want to see more, make sure you click that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.